at first thought like, oh, let me do the easier test of like the FE general. Um, because I heard it was easier, but then I realized, wait, like the FE mechanical was what I studied in school. Like I should be doing that one. Just time flies, I guess, like when you're out of school and working full time, like you yeah, you're working all day, like you drive in the morning, drive in the afternoon, so by the time you get home, like you're really tired. I think one thing that did help me a lot was to work out. I knew I'd had to pass this, so it was worth it for me to get your course material just because I was content with the way you explain things. Also like that there was no limit to your course material because
Mm.
some other online courses like give you like 3 months, 6 months, and then you have to like renew and figure out like the best way that you like to study or learn.
Paulina, so you graduated in 2020, so basically you're a recent graduate. Did you feel like college prepared you for the FE exam?
Um, yes, because I did see a lot of what I did in school also in the exam. So I at first thought like, oh, let me do the easier test of like the FE general. Um, because I heard it was easier, but then I realized, wait, like the FE mechanical was what I studied in school. Like I should be doing that one. So yes, like it did prepare me for it.
Got you. Okay, that makes sense. Now, you did go to college during COVID, the last two
Mhm.
years, right,
Yeah.
of college, it was COVID. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Did you go to campus? Did you have online classes? Did you feel like that affected your learning a little bit?
Yes, it was so different, like getting hit with COVID during the last 2 years of my schooling. Um, just what you remember before of like being on campus, being with other students, like going to office hours was not the same. Um, you could still go to office hours, but it was on camera. And doing school online was very different too, but the experience was a lot different. It was like more disconnected, limited resources like we now had.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I don't know how I would like going to school and having online courses because I really liked going to classes and
Yes.
engaging and talking to the professor and then afterwards doing the homework with the classmates and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just yeah I feel like it would be like I feel like I would miss out on a lot of things and I probably would have not learned as much as I did by going in there in person. Um, so that must have been a very interesting experience. But you still graduated and you studied your FE for the FE exam and you passed the FE. Now, so earlier, you mentioned that you first took FE other disciplines.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about that. Tell us how many times did you take the FE and then why did you decide to take other disciplines? And then when you switch over to mechanical, was it like easy decision or were you still hesitant? Because I think a lot of people could relate to this.
Yeah, definitely. So how everybody, I guess, goes into taking the FE other was because they heard it from somebody saying it was easier. So I heard that. I was like, okay, like let me try to take the other FE other disciplines. And so I took it and then I was like, wait, there was too much that I was not even prepared for. Like there was so many different subjects that I definitely didn't take any courses in college for.
Mm,
So I was like, this is like not worth it because I just have to learn more than what I need to, or if I would have taken the FE mechanical. So when I did take that test the first time, I actually was like maybe like more of a recent grad, and I guess I was like, oh, like I've graduated, like I don't have to study anymore and stuff like that. But I knew like I might have to take it for work. So I just took it to see like how it went, and then at the end I didn't pass, and then I knew I wasn't really ready for it. Even before taking it. So when I started working full time, they did mention like it was required for work. So
Mm.
I was like, oh, like they don't like we do need it, but there's like years before there's like a deadline of like it's required like now and stuff. So I was like, oh,
Mm.
I have time to like study for it, to take it in the future, stuff like that. So like a year went by, a year and a half went by. I was like, okay, I think like time just speeds up like when you're working full time and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, like time flies when you're having fun. So I was like,
Right.
okay, I think it's time to like reel it back in, get back to study mode, stuff like that. And then that's when I was like, okay, I definitely the FE other is not for me just because it's not worth learning even more than what I learned in school or what I went into school for. So that's when I realized like I need to do the FE mechanical because that's what I studied in school and that's what I'm honestly like good at. So I was like, okay, like we're gonna do that FE mechanical. And again, like I did start studying for it more, but again, I wasn't 100% invested in it. So, when it was time for the exam to come up again, I was about 70% comfortable, 70 to 80% comfortable in, you know, how like we have to know like the 14 subjects or
Hmm.
so for FE mechanical. So I was about 70% comfortable in that throughout the topic. So I was like, oh, like I think I'll be fine. Like I heard like you only need to do like 60, 70% good in it, whatever. So something like that. So I was like, okay, let's take it. And again, not the results I wanted came in. I was like, okay, so I knew I wasn't studying enough for it. I knew I wasn't 100% invested in it. So when the results came in, I was upset, but I knew also I could do more. And then after I knew it, it was about 4 months had passed since I like previously took my test. And I was like, okay, like I really need just to like to 100% commit, to 100% dig into this. And I knew my weak areas, but I knew I also had to be better in throughout. So I was watching some of your videos, of course, and then and then I saw a young lady where she said that she now going into it wanted to focus on the concepts, the fundamentals of everything throughout. So then that was my goal. Like I could do so many practice problems like as I can, but if I focus on the concepts, like that's
Mm.
what's gonna make it a stronger section for me where I can not just be ready for a question, but be ready for any type of concept that gets thrown my way. So I had already had your course before the morning one, but I knew I needed the FE mechanical or sorry, the mechanical course like came after I guess like I got the morning course. So I decided to commit to also getting that afternoon course because I knew I needed to be stronger in like thermo and heat transfer stuff like that. So I focused on really like learning the concepts, really learning the vocabulary that comes with everything. And yeah, like it was about maybe like the last month before the exam. Um it was like I guess time to make sure I reviewed all my notes, did a practice exam, stuff like that. And yeah, so that last month I talked to one of your representatives. Her name is Rin, and we just dove into which subjects I needed to improve on. And and yeah, during that last time I again like went back to the notes, reviewed the concepts, and yeah, like the last weeks I just felt good going into it. I saw like one last video where you said like what to be ready for on the day of the exam, stuff like
Hmm.
that. And then you had mentioned like, oh, they're gonna take a picture of you. So remember just to like, I don't know, prepare for the picture. I was like, oh, you know what? Like this time I know I feel better about it. I might as well, I guess, like look like I'm look on the outside how I feel on the inside. So I was like, okay, let me get ready for this. And then yeah, and it went good this time around. So total I took it 3 times. The first time I wasn't really like prepared for it. I kind of winged it. The second time I was about 70 to 80% ready for it. But again, like the FE, you kind of don't know what you're gonna get. So when I took it this third time, I would 100% was ready for it. Not 100, maybe like 90%. But yeah, I knew I had put in the time, put in the effort, um, really focused on fundamentals, concepts, and yeah, it went my way this time.
Awesome. Okay, okay. So I have a couple questions here. So my first one, you talked about your work.
Mm.
It was a requirement, but was there a deadline? You mentioned the deadline. Did
Yeah,
you
there
have a
was. There was
deadline?
a 3 year deadline.
3 year
So
deadline. Okay.
yeah. So again, like just time flies. I guess like when you're out of school and working full time, like you yeah, you're working all day, like you drive in the morning, drive in the afternoon, so by the time you get home, like you're really tired
Yeah.
and you're drained from like having to focus on school, like sorry, not on school, on work. Different issues pop up, you have to be ready to talk to clients, stuff like that. So yeah, like just time flies.
Yeah, I agree 100% there. You have to sacrifice a little bit for a couple months, get your EIT, and then, and then maybe even get the PE, and then you can done studying, go enjoy your
Mm,
life, you know.
mm.
But it's so important for us engineers to have our EIT and our PE, and so um, it's good to put into time and get those licenses. Now, I want to ask you about your second attempt. So you said you put in 70 to 80%, or yeah, 70, 80%, you felt like you were there. Would you tell us a little bit about the study material that you used for the second time? Did you get a course, or what did you use to study?
Yeah, so I did have this workbook that had, well, my friend lent it to me, so I don't have it now. But it was one of like the big the FE practice problems with solutions, stuff like that.
Okay.
And at first it was like, okay, like it's not too bad or whatever, but like once you get into subjects you aren't 100% familiar with, then it's like, oh, like I'm not just like a person that like can read text and like understand. Like I need more of an explanation, more of a illustration, stuff like that. Just learning straight from a book was not for me. I needed more of a guide of like, I guess like you start at step 1 and then you start building on what you learn and stuff like that, and things get harder. So I guess like I also use YouTube, of course, like everybody use YouTube, and then like seeing videos there introduced me to like your videos, and then like after seeing some of yours I realized like you do explain things the way I like to learn things.
Mm.
So then I did a little more research on your course online, and then yeah, and then I decided to commit because at the end of the day, like I knew I'd had to pass this. So it was worth it for me to get your course material just because I was content with the way you explain things. Also like that there was no limit to your course material, because
Mm.
some other online courses like give you like 3 months, 6 months, and then you have to like renew, and that was
Oh.
even more of a stressor for me.
Mm.
So yeah, so I committed to get the morning course, and then I saw you were coming out with a mechanical course. I was like, yes, I need to get it. because yeah, I just really enjoyed the way you presented things, and how you did questions, like you did it differently, but at the same time, like as long as you understand the basics and concepts, like things start to make more sense.
Mm,
So yeah, yeah. So I did have some books. Yeah, so I had mentioned that a friend lent me a workbook also with like a lot of practice problems. So I used that book maybe like towards the end of the last month before the test. And I just did like some extra problems there, and then also like the FE practice exam that comes with, or I guess you get on the NCES website.
mm-hmm,
So I did that one as well. And then Rim, sorry, who is with you guys, she recommended a practice exam that I got from Amazon. Overall, the biggest thing I used was your course, online course. And then towards the end is where I started bringing in other practice problems. But I do credit like being mostly prepared for this exam from your courses.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. I think, it's also you put in the effort and, you studied hard. And I think you used the last books just to get more practice, to make
Yeah.
sure what you learned in the course, applies to other problems. It's very important that, I'm glad you did that because you want to get exposed to different type of problems. And also sometimes like the way the problems are stated, the way they say it can throw you off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's why it's so important to practice so many different problems so you can get used to different formats. Because, like you said, you don't know what you're gonna get on the FE or how it is being laid out and all that. You can have no the concepts and stuff, but if they ask it like slightly weird or different, it can throw you off. And we've got
Yeah.
a couple students mentioned that before. So very important that you do as many problems as you can so that you are ready for the FE exam. Um, I want to ask you real quick for your last attempt, how many months did you study for it?
Yeah, so for my last attempt, maybe like 3.5 months, something like that.
Okay. During the exam, well, how did you feel before you went into the exam?
Before I went in,
Were you nervous? Were you feeling confident?
yeah, so I was feeling kind of confident to be
Okay.
honest. Like the day before, Rim had mentioned like, "Oh, don't study the day before. It's like it's not good for you. You might like overwhelm yourself." But I knew actually like I would feel better if I studied a little more. So I
Mm,
studied like that morning or afternoon. And so I was a little nervous, but at the end of the day, like I just had to remind myself, like you did study for this, you did put in the time, and yeah, so it's a little intimidating, like having other people there for like the same test. Um,
mm.
so like oh, like all these people are taking the FE also, so you kind of just have to remind yourself like you're there because you also are ready for it, and you're there to pass it. And at the end, it I did pass it, and it went my way. And yeah, you get nervous, but you just have to remind yourself that you put in the time, and you're ready for the test.
Awesome. And how did passing the FE affected your life? Or you know what,
Um,
actually, hold on. Before you answer that question, I actually have two questions. How did you feel after your exam? Did you feel like,
yeah.
oh, I did well? And then when you got the results back, how did you feel in that moment?
I left it feeling okay, not like 100% positive about it, but I did know compared to the previous test, I did feel a lot better about it. So yeah, so when I did get the results, I was even like I was blown away. I was like, "What? That's crazy!" Like even though like you felt good, like, "Oh, I think I did good" and stuff like that, like to see the results was yeah, I was not prepared. I was like, whoa, like that's you can't believe it at times.
Awesome. That's great. You know, a lot of students after the FE exam, they don't, they feel okay. I think most students I interviewed, when I asked them that question, a lot of them would say, I felt okay. You know, like I didn't feel like, great, I'm gonna pass this exam.
Mhm.
I had the same feeling after my exam. Like I was like, it could go either way. I could either fail
Yeah.
it really hard or pass it. Like I had
Yeah.
no idea where I was. I think it's just because there's so many questions, and there's like things where they can trick you, and you don't know if you know you got it right, or you don't know what could happen. So
Yeah.
I totally get that. Now, how did passing the FE exam affected your life?
Along with it being a requirement for work, it also comes with like a pay raise and
No.
a position change. So I'm now gonna go
Oh,
from associate one to associate two. So that's really good. There's no stress of like you need to pass it during this like deadline and stuff like that. So a lot less stress that goes on with like having to balance school and work and stuff like that. Sorry, studying and work. And yeah, I don't have to study in the weekends anymore. I don't have to study after at the end of the day after work and so it feels good. Like I think this is my second week like post passing the FE. And yeah, so sometimes I have to go back to like the website, NCES website, and be like, did I pass it? Like, is it still there? Like, it wasn't a dream. So it feels good. But also, like, I do plan on taking the PE, so I'm just gonna maybe like rest, maybe a month about, and then start again studying for the PE, just because like I want to keep this momentum going, so might as
yeah,
well just like go to the next step.
that's smart. I think that's yeah, and especially because you're in LA, so you can actually take the exam without getting the full 4 years of experience. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
so which is amazing. And yeah, I usually always encourage students to, like, take the PE right after the FE exam, because you still have a lot, the momentum, like you mentioned, and then the material is so fresh. Have you decided which PE to take?
I've been looking into it. It's either going to be like the
Okay.
HVAC FPE or the I think it's like fluid transfer and thermal, I believe it's called.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
just because like it was funny because like I after the maybe like during this when I was taking the test the second time, I was like, oh, like thermo is one of my worst subjects, and like now after like taking your course and like passing the test, I was like, I think thermal is my strongest subject now.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, so I was like it's a toss up. Either I take like the PE HVAC one or
Yeah.
the fluids and thermal. So I think I'm gonna go
Okay.
fluids and thermal
Okay.
because I do like both subjects and it's a little
Hmm.
more general compared to like the HVAC course.
Hmm.
So that's what I think thinking is of what I'm gonna take.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Yeah, when I first started creating the mechanical course, I actually started with thermodynamics because it's just such a huge section for the FE
Yeah.
mechanical. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, this is a lot of information that you guys need to learn. And to
Yeah.
be honest, like, because I took the FE civil, and when I compare it to the civil, I don't think there's a subject in civil that is as in depth as as thermodynamics in the FE
Hmm.
mechanical.
Yeah.
But the more I got into it, the more I'm like, oh my God, this is so fun.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Same.
you just like all the equations and concepts, like I actually
Yeah.
enjoyed creating it.
Yeah.
There's that, and controls. I also enjoyed controls. Um, but okay, awesome. All right. That's really great. So, well, congratulations, by the way, on well, passing the FE and the promotion and the raise. I'm really happy for you,
Thank
and the
you.
fact that you don't have to study for the FE exam for the next month. Um, and that's really great. Okay, I have one more question for you. If
Yeah.
a student comes up to you and asks you to list three things that really helped you pass your FE exam, what would you say to them?
I would say creating a schedule, creating a plan, the more you push it, the less time you have for other topics. So again, it goes back to sacrifices. You kind of do have to like do small sacrifices to make sure you stay on track, because it could really make or break your study plan. And then two, figure out like the best way that you like to study or learn, because like I mentioned, like I had a booklet of study guide problems, and they do break down some like theory and stuff like that, but I'm more of a someone explain it to me and like do a pretty detail stuff like that. So that's what I like. And then I found your course, and then it was like the perfect study plan. And then three, I would say, I guess like tell people that you're trying to take a test, because sometimes like yeah, because sometimes like life goes on and people want, let's just say family for example, like oh they need your help to do this on the Saturday morning or something, or like do this I don't know, party during the week or something like that. So it's just kind of like as long as they know that you're trying to like stay focused, and you have like other things that need your attention and stuff like that, they give you your time and space to make sure you're 100% comfortable.
Awesome. That's great. I love number two. I don't think this was mentioned before in any of the interviews, and I 100% agree with you. And this is something I always try to mention is try to figure out what's the best way you learn and then get
Mhm.
the resources that will help you get there. Very, very powerful to know that first before you start studying. So
Yeah.
it's amazing that you mentioned it. So that's awesome. Well, Paulina, thank you so much for taking the time and for joining me today and sharing your your journey and for passing the FE exam. It's do a lot of great insights. It started with you taking other disciplines because you heard somebody said it's easier, and then you move to mechanical, having that schedule, the sacrifices, a lot of great tips that I think a lot of people are gonna relate to, and it's gonna hopefully help them pass the FE exam as well. So thank you again, and congratulations on your success, and good luck with your PE exam. I really hope
Thank
you pass
you.
it.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, everybody now.